game.
Who's that?
Hello.
Who's that?
Hey. Haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. Paul, can you, Johnny, can you put headphones on him?
Okay, give me a second.
Yeah. So what's going on, buddy?
Well, we've been keeping busy over here.
Mm-hmm. I want you to know, I want you to know, a part of the world put itself on hold to hang out with you.
Yeah, right. my relatives.
Nope. Terry Valor in England. Mark Rendon rearranged his whole work schedule just to be here.
Well, more power to them. Right on.
Yeah. All right. So he's trying to rustle up a headset for you, right?
Yeah. Is that to hear you better?
Well, yeah, because I hear
an echo.
An echo for myself, not for you, but just for myself.
I see. That's my chi manifesting in the line. That happens all the time.
Hey, we know that too, right? Okay, but until that happens, let's just get started. Is that okay with you?
Oh, yeah.
Just pause for 1 second.
Oh,
all right.
The man's coming.
All right. All right. While you guys do that, I'll just tell everybody that Paul Vunak is somebody that I have known since not day one, but day zero. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, that's much better, Johnny. Thanks. So I was telling everybody, Paul, I've known you since day zero, not day one, because I met you on the Sunday, July 24th, before I started training with Dan Inosanto, July 25th, back in 1983. Right? Now, you were not on the teaching roster, but what happened was you were supposed to do a so-called demonstration. And instead of talking, performing, you made us all come up and you did a workshop. Right?
Do you know why I did that?
I was going to ask you why you did that.
Yeah, because I was so petrified of being out there as the lone guy that I wanted to bring everybody out to calm me down.
But see, here's the thing, so that's one of those things where I was listening to Jerry Seinfeld talking to Eddie Murphy, and they were both talking about how they appeared confident, but were not actually confident in the early days. So is that a little bit what you're talking about?
Oh God, that's everything. My first video I did, I think they call it the archives video.
Uh-huh.
As soon as I was looking into the camera for 2 minutes, I just was dumbstruck like a deer in headlights. And every time I was trying to talk, I would stutter. Yeah. And I could teach all right. So we had to cancel the project. And then one of my friends said, wait a minute, you leave. We're going to hide the cameras. Then you come back and just teach a group class and pretend like there's no cameras there. And that's exactly what I did. So if you watch that archives tape, it was literally me not knowing where there were any cameras, and I just ran a normal group class.
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm sure you've heard this countless times, but that archives tape, that changed the lives of a bunch of people, including mine. So there are hundreds of people around the world, and I'm not blowing smoke, but there are hundreds of people around the world, maybe even thousands, whose lives were changed because of your influence. And I wanted to talk about that, because here's another thing. Do you remember this? Neil Colliff and I came over to your place for a private lesson.
Completely. Oh yes.
Okay. And here's what I remember. This is the most important thing I remember. At the end of the private lesson, these were your recommendations. Neil, lose weight. Give it to Dwight.
Right. I can't see your arms, Dwight. Did it work? Did you put on any?
Yeah, where are we? Look at that.
Oh man, look at that. Look at that. Neil's bicep right there.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Okay, so listen, people. So in 1984, Jay D'Amato moved CMAA home to St. Louis, Missouri. And that year, Paul was on the teaching roster, and I signed up to spend a week with you. And it was because of the demo you did the year before. That's when I decided, okay, I have to train with this guy. All right, so we got to get deep into it.
Something popped up.
And can I pressure you to agree to this? If my phone runs out of charge before we finish all these questions, will you come back on and do a second round?
Oh God, I'm the least technical guy in the world, and I just found out I can do this. So now you're stuck with me. Oh hell, I'll BS forever.
All
we
right.
can do this as many times as you like.
Cool.
Brother.
Okay, so there are a ton of questions. Somebody as popular and as successful as you, obviously there are people who love you, there are people who don't love you as much, right? So we're gonna have to touch on some of the controversies and whatever, but can we start with, confirm this, 1977 is when you started at the Kali Academy with Inosanto.
November 26th, 1976.
1976, okay, all
I
right,
think.
okay.
Might be 1977. I remember November 22nd, excuse me.
Okay.
November 22nd. And it's one of those years.
Ah, all right. Now, what had you done before that in martial art?
Black Karate Federation was my main thing. Before that, I did Taekwondo, but I didn't like working with, I didn't get along with the instructors as well.
Okay.
So I felt much more comfortable going over to BKF.
Okay. So that was Steve Sanders and those guys, right?
Donnie Williams.
Donnie
yes.
Williams. Yeah. All the
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
in the Jim Kelly scene in Enter the
Exactly.
Dragon, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what then was your first experience of Bruce Lee?
Well, he died in 73, so I missed him. Okay, because now we're up around 1974.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and that's when I joined Black Karate Federation.
Okay. And what
Oh,
drew
and the
you?
Bruce Lee, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the Bruce Lee thing began with Dan Inosanto in 1970, either 6 or 77.
Okay, and that was through a magazine article or something, or?
No, through irony, the school that I had, the BKF school, which I eventually inherited,
Right.
was 2 blocks away from Dan's school.
No.
So for 4 years, I was doing reverse punches while they were doing paksals.
Okay, so I'm trying to stay chronological with you, but you just said something there about paksal. Tell everybody the famous story about you, Inosanto, the sparring and the trapping, and how you weren't able to pull off the paksal, and what his recommendation was.
Oh my God, I'm trying to recall which story you're referring.
Right, I know, because there's so many. So here's what I recall. It was
Okay.
something about forget the sparring class, go to the weapons class.
Okay.
Right?
You know, you're bringing me back, what, 40 years, 50
I know.
years?
I'm sorry.
Hell, I don't
sorry.
remember where I left my keys yesterday.
Hey, I lost my keys
right.
this morning. All right, so.
I was in class training, trying to pull off the paksal and getting nowhere. And I always tried to equate my stuff in the sparring class, not in the scrimmage line doing paksals back and forth. And Dan watched me do it over and over again, and I was just getting my nose boxed off. So I could really get no trapping in when I tried during the sparring classes.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, weapons were not mandatory. You know, you had your choice.
Uh-huh.
So Dan said, why don't you get into my weapons class? And that was kind of like asking me, why don't you start playing badminton?
Yeah.
You know, because I saw no correlation, you know, and I said, weapons, I've never been in a weapons fight, probably never will. And he said, you're young. Just wait till the fights get serious. You will. Didn't understand what he meant back then.
Right.
So I did what he said, and I got into the weapons class. And I spent about 6 months there. And he wouldn't let me spar for 6 months. and I did Sinawali and Sombrada and knife work and just all the drills you could imagine. I was feeling more coordinated. My athleticism was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan tapped on my shoulder and he goes, okay, now go in class and do your Paksao. And now I said, oh my God, I haven't been in there in 6 months. It's going to be even worse.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, it was working. You know, and
Yeah.
of course, afterward, I said, you know, what happened to me?
Right.
And he goes, well, you came in really, 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 really klutzy. And now you're just really klutzy.
Okay. So that's an example of the struggle, let's call it. Somebody as successful as you, somebody as well known as you are, people are not going to think that, they're going to think you always had it. So can you tell a story of struggle just to inspire those people who might be watching, who might come on here and go, oh, that's Paul Vunak. Oh, he went through a hard time. If you can just go into the memory files.
Oh, sure. That part's easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you ask me for struggles, that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah. Not actually talking about street fights now, but the struggling for training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to kind of extrapolate on that Paksao story.
Okay.
Is the class that I was training in was the phase 2 class, to where I would try to get in and make my stuff work. And then there was a phase 3, and then there was a Jeet Kune Do class.
Right. Okay.
So yeah. So all the times that I would get in and say try to box, and as I got up into the Jeet Kune Do class, it became more and more difficult. It's like going from amateur boxing to pro boxing, and a lot of the folks up there were really, really good.
Yeah.
So, you know, in addition to trying to work my traps, I wanted to get my boxing down. So that's exactly what I would do. I would get in that class and I would box. And every time I would get my ears boxed off. And I think the only thing that one of the things I guess I hope that Dan appreciated was my tenacity. Mm-hmm. It wasn't natural talent by any means. So he just saw me day after day, night after night, just getting my butt kicked. And he just, and plus I was helping him in the school at that time and ingratiating myself in as much as I could.
Yeah.
So he said, look, meet me in my garage this time, 2 o'clock, I want to work with you. So of course I was there with bells on. This was my first private lesson.
All right.
And he said, now the trouble you're having with your boxing, we're going to see what we can do. I expected a boxing lesson. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he said, I want you to put that chest gear on. If you remember back in those days, it was bamboo chest gear. Do you remember those days?
Yep.
I mean, you know, you were kind of walking there. So I put one on. I remember like it was yesterday. So we're about to put the gloves on. He looks at me and goes, put another one on. I was thinking, what, are you going to shoot me? Okay, so I put another one on, and he goes, now throw on the gloves. He goes, now box me the way you box everybody. And in the beginning, I wondered, you know, geez, this is my teacher. God, what if I hit him? And then it dawned on me, not only am I not going to hit him, I'm not going to come within 5 feet of him. So I'm trying my best. And the next thing I remember, he did a straight blast on me. He just, and I'd never, ever even seen it, heard of it, knew what it was.
Right.
And he blasted me right into Bruce Lee's wooden dummy. And I hit that thing and I slid down like a cartoon. And I had never experienced any feeling like that. Yeah. The pressure of going backwards so quickly, running backwards, it was the most impotent feeling I've ever felt in my life. Yeah. And after I took off the gloves and and it's like, Tweety, and I was like, what did you just do to me? And that was the beginning of my understanding of trapping and the straight blast.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's a section I have here in my notes where I wanted to do word association with you. You just introduced it because there are terms in JKD that are synonymous with Paul Vunak. The straight blast is one of them. And I sent out a note to people saying, if you got any questions for Paul, send them in. I got one question about the straight blast. Mark Stewart wants to know if, what's your opinion today on the straight blast? And do you have any variations in the straight blast over the years?
Oh God, yes. Variations. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. From the straight blast, we can go into different permutations where it's not just an elliptical roll, but when you come with an overhead back to an elliptical, get into a little boxing, the zigzagging, straight blasting up. There's the straight blast alone. You could write an encyclopedia about the single move. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do the word association stuff. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So defining the snake. So here's how it works. I call out the phrase or the word, and then you comment on the first thing that comes to mind.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Okay. Defining the snake.
Never done. Not done enough. The lost,
Aha.
the lost art.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Killer instinct.
Misunderstood.
What do you mean?
You're supposed to be rolling like a psychiatrist here. You're not supposed to stop and ask me, what do I mean? I'm kidding. Misunderstood, because most people think that when you talk about killer instinct, it's how mad you can get and how tough you are. And if you see this guy with big tattoos and earrings and screaming at the top of his lungs, and you go, oh my God, muscles are bulging. Look at that guy's killer instinct.
Right.
And over the years, my definition of killer instinct is love.
Huh. Okay. Now you have to expand on that. You can't leave us hanging.
All right.
Yeah. Expand on that. Go.
Well, you can never have proper killer instinct if you're running around getting in fights because somebody flips you off. If you're running around getting in fights because somebody challenges you. You suck, you're not this. Oh yeah, I'm not that. If you're driving down the street and you get into a fender bender. If you're in a bar, if somebody looks at your girlfriend, all of these things. If you fight over these things, you are conflating your ego with your martial art. And this will nullify any proper killer instinct. Conversely, if you're a mother protecting your cubs, okay, there is not a female animal in the world that a way larger animal would never mess with, instinctively knowing that this has cubs.
Right.
So if you are protecting your family, if you are fighting out of love, if it is a proper moral reason, okay. I don't know if anybody has seen the movie Law Abiding Citizen, okay, but if you haven't seen it, excuse me, go see the movie. I can't even watch the beginning, and it shows a real bad people going into a house doing real bad things to a family.
Yeah.
And under that mentality, can your killer instinct come in? We have so many people. What hurts my feelings on the internet is people, I'll see a clip of me doing some bite flow, and somebody will say, my God, what an idiot. Who in the hell goes around biting people? Okay. They don't understand that the real asymmetrical violence that we inject in our art, eye gouging, biting, groin shots, you wouldn't do this. We're going to call it kinamutai, or asymmetrical violence. You wouldn't do it unless you would shoot somebody. If you would shoot them, you would bite them. If you wouldn't shoot them, you're not going to bite them. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you hold that here to protect your family, then you know you have this entity that is more powerful than you.
Yeah.
Because it's the love, it's your maternal instinct and the love that you have for, and I say family, extended family, friends, yourself.
Right.
But when there's a life or death situation and you are really the innocent person, this can come out. So love will bring out the killer instinct. Ego will do nothing but, I've lost fights because I had too many drinks back in the 80s. Somebody will look at me wrong, I'll look at them. And then it's like, I'm not going to bite his ear off. Even drunk, I'm not going to. And I'll punch him a few times, and then he'll flip me and it's just, you just don't do it. I mean, you just don't do it.
Right. So, okay, so let me ask you about that. Everything that you just described there, true killer instinct, were you aware of that 20 years ago? Or was killer instinct something different for you 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, like most subjects in life, if you were to pull yourself back 20 years, well, that was right around 2000, so, you know.
Okay.
But if we go back, yeah, how old am I? Come on, dude. All right. But if we go back 40 years ago,
right. Yeah.
Okay.
I keep forgetting.
So, you know, as somebody in their mid-20s, my idea of killer instinct was a sport. It was doing Thai boxing and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, because we were one of the first to add those two arts before MMA came along. Right. And I thought killer instinct was, wow, you're on top, really pound the shit out of this guy.
Yeah.
And that compared to my notion of military killer instinct, you know, that's a massage at Club Med.
Yeah. Okay. All right. More word association. Gunting.
Misunderstood.
Again? Really?
Yeah. Because people see a lot of different guntings coming from different angles on that arm. Okay.
Yeah.
But in reality, if that person, I would not do destructions unless I knew this person was a better puncher than me. Okay. And when I get into my destruction modality, my hands are up like Thai boxing. And the only gunting I use is his fist runs into the tip of my elbow. I just direct it ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Anything more complicated than that, I fall under the auspices of self-perfection. Now, could you do the regular horizontal gunting, you know, the one we've done for 20 years, boom, boom? Sure, you could. But the guy's got to be a lesser puncher than you.
Got it.
Yeah, if this guy's a pro boxer, you will never pull that off.
Yeah.
But you will be able to pull off elbows up and him running into the tip of your elbow.
Okay.
Kind of like a Thai boxing thing.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, you just brought up one that I actually didn't have in this list. Self-preservation versus self-perfection.
Self-perfection or drills.
Okay.
If you go to a basketball practice, you will see them doing drills. They'll do passing drills, scrimmaging, and dribbling drills. But then if you actually see them scrimmaging, that means it's that team's offense against that team's defense. That would be self-preservation, sparring. So if you're doing stuff that is going to purely rawly equate, empirically speaking, to a fight,
right? Straight
blast, headbutt, knee, elbow, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, overhand, anything this is self-preservation. If you spar, that's self-preservation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you're training focus mitts, if you're hitting the heavy bag, if you're jumping rope, if you're lifting weights, the whole litany of other things that you don't use in a fight, but they develop attributes, that's sombrata, numerata, for those of you who like weapons. That's self-perfection.
Yeah. The sparring thing, how important was it? How important is it? And is it the most important thing?
If done well, it is very important, but I don't see people doing it well. It reminds me of their how they stick fight. Okay. If you put on a pair of boxing gloves and try to kill each other, even in the world of kickboxing, you're going to do your best 5 things: jab, cross, hook, thigh kick, round kick. You know, on the other hand, if you slow it down, maybe use MMA gloves, now you can put in the more devastating things. And while you're doing a jab and a cross, you might trap the hand and do a pox out, shoot down low and do a groin shot. But you're never going to get the opportunity to put these different elements in play if somebody's coming at you full speed 24/7.
Okay.
So a lot of people think, gosh, I have to do it full speed because that's the way a fight is.
Right.
And eventually you can get your stuff up to where you're going really hard and fast, but most of your training should be done slower. It's just no need to go that hard and fast.
So you're saying then are you saying don't just, when it comes to sparring, don't just use a kickboxing approach, try to do actual self-defense stuff in sparring?
Precisely. I have something I call the VU scale. Okay.
Okay.
So if two people are sparring and you have somebody on the board, Bob and Mike, and let's say, and the VU scale is this: if you intercept somebody, you get 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
If you do a destruction, you get 4 points. If you do a straight blast, you get 3 points. If you do a progressive indirect attack, fake high go low or fake low go high, you get 2 points. And then if you just hit them in the face or punch them or kick them like everybody does, you get 1 point. So in training, if you can change the priority of what you're doing, then that will transpose itself into the fight. So imagine Bob and Sam sparring, and Bob hits Sam with a thigh kick, and then maybe a jab. And you're like, oh, 2-0. And then double jab. Oh, 4-0. And then he comes in with another thigh kick, but Mike intercepts him. Now it's 5-4.
Right.
Now the next time he comes in, Mike intercepts him and then follows up with a blast, which is 3 points. So an interception and a blast is 8.
Okay.
So what you're always trying to do is, because we've changed the priorities and put a different scale on everything, and if you want to win at this particular tournament, the tournament that I call teaching you how to really fight, okay, the emphasis is not going to be on just trading blows.
I wish we could see how many people are raising their hands to this question. How many people are going to steal the VU scale and put it into their training? I am, right? Because that reminds me, I got to tell you about this. I've never told you this before, but you are the person primarily responsible, of course, Inosanto also, but you are the person primarily responsible for imprinting in my mind the mind expansiveness that is contained in the art of Kali. You're the guy. And I'll tell you what it was. It was when you showed the 8 basics of double stick. You know, the high, high, high on the right side, high, followed by high, high, high on the left side. But then high, high, low, high, that whole 8 basics. And then you said, but it's really 64 basics. I have used that since whenever it was that you showed that, 1984, 85, or whatever. I have used that to impress upon people that if they get that mindset, that Kali mindset, they can grow and grow and grow mentally. Does that make sense?
Yes, in the world of self-perfection.
Okay.
That drill is a great self-perfection move. Okay, or drill. But my paradigm in Kali now, and when I teach it to various agencies and whatnot, see, if there's one art that they really overcomplicate, I mean, it's like if I ask you what time it is and you tell me how to make a clock, that's Kali.
Okay. Yeah.
And half the stuff not only do I don't understand because it doesn't make sense. I don't even want to learn. I just do this. To zone out where your toe is here and your right foot is here, and you angle at a male triangle, assigning gender to geometry. That alone screws me up. Okay. Oh my God.
Right.
But at the end of the day, in the late 70s, I walked into Dan's office and I saw a placard with all of the different knives. And I said, oh my God, I will never be able to learn Kali. This is so complicated and so many different knives and this and this, and then there's stick, and then and he looked at me and he said, there's only one thing in Kali. And if you never forget this, you have to defang the snake. There is no trading back and forth. Rattan is a training stick, Paul. So when you see people hitting each other on the head back and forth, that is nonsense. It's like a pillow fight. Most wood that they would have would be iron bark, and if you got hit one time, your brains would be dripping down your cheek. Right. Everything else would be edged weapons. Yeah. So therefore, if you and I are punching or kicking each other, we can always trade blows. I can do some kind of a block. I can attack you. You can attack me. And in most arts, you see a trade. Boxing, kicking, trapping, everything, there's a trade. You cannot trade if the opponent has a deadly weapon.
Right.
If one slice. So therefore, there's only one answer, and that is you have to defang the snake.
Okay.
If you don't defang, okay, now he drops the thing. Now you do your attack. If you try to do your attack while he is still attacking you, and we're talking about a blade,
yeah,
both people are going to die. It's like you and I have an MP5 and we're 5 feet from each other and we both unload it. That's what these stick tournaments remind me of. Maybe I hit you with 22 bullets and you hit me with 18. That means I won by 4. You see?
I get it. Yeah.
And the stick tournaments are the same way. When 2 people are banging with sticks, headhunting, did we have a problem on the thing? It looks like.
Yeah. You cut out for a little bit, but it's okay. Just keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the whole notion is you cannot fight an opponent with a deadly weapon. You have to defang the weapon first.
Right.
Now but it's just not that simple. A lot of people, if you don't have the right drills to do it, we have over 100 drills to teach you just to defang. Emotional drills, stress inoculation drills, drills with sticks and knives, drills that help your speed, drills that help your timing, your distancing, until you make defanging a philosophy.
Right.
Then it'll just be another thing that you do. And if you don't do it and ignore it because you headhunt, that's worse. It's like a pillow fight.
Yeah. That you just used some specific terminology there, stress inoculation. Where did the knowledge and the understanding of that type of thing, where and when did that come in to your approach, your methodology?
In the late 80s when I was working with SEAL Team 6.
Okay.
And, that was just a requirement, is that I got these guys able to do whatever they do under an enormous amount of stress.
Right. Okay. So, but now how did you know what to do? How did you yourself know what you should make them do?
Well, if you grew up in an Italian, Polish, Jewish family, you'll know how to stress people out. That's real easy. I never had a barbecue in my life where my one relative wasn't screaming at another one. But seriously, stress inoculation is first of all, to get somebody as stressed out as they can be, you get them exhausted. Okay, lack of endurance makes cowards of us all, Vince Lombardi. Okay, then when they're exhausted, then you're screaming at them, and then you're beating the snot out of them, and then you're saying, now do the technique. So I had to turn into a different person when I trained the military, is when obviously if I'm going to be coming down to Florida and teaching a class.
Right.
But doing it under those conditions, and then if they're able to do it under that stress inoculation, then their likelihood of pulling it off in reality is exponential.
Yeah. By the time I met you in '83, when did you start Progressive Fighting System? Had it started yet, or did it start like a couple of years later, or what?
I think we started it in '85.
Okay.
Just the actual name, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And did you start with a particular strategy in mind, or it was just like, okay, now I got permission to do my own thing, so I'm going to start doing my own thing. We'll call it Progressive Fighting Systems, and we'll see where it goes. Or did you have specific strategy? Well,
Dan and I were very, very close, still are very, very close. We did a lot of traveling together. And, in the wee hours of the night in a motel room, I think somewhere in Europe, I looked him in the eye and I said, I promise I will help you perpetuate this art. Because he was saying, the students just aren't doing this. And I said, well, that's what I'll do. And he said, well, you should have at least your own identity of some sort to be attached with me, of course.
Yeah.
So, let's come up with some names. And then finally I came up with the name Progressive Fighting Systems. And I remember we were sitting at a restaurant and I said, what do you think, Progressive Fighting Systems? He goes, it's okay. Yeah, I guess that's good. I don't think he liked it because it didn't have Kali in it. I don't know, retrospectively.
Right.
And he goes, see, he goes, so and I said, yeah, PFS for short. And he goes, PMS? No, Sifu, PFS. And so that's where the name kind of came from.
Right. Okay. So I just want you to know, there are people, I know there are people listening in who would pay good money just to sit and listen to you tell stories, right? So one of these days, I'm going to get you and Inosanto together, and that's what we'll do. I'll just turn the mic on the two of you and just go, okay, tell stories.
Yeah, well, if you get a mic, if you get a camera on him, you'll probably see the eyes start twitching like Clouseau.
How did you get good at telling stories? Is
I
that
don't
the
know.
Polish?
Didn't know I was.
It's the Polish Italian.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Two more word association. Attribute development.
When I think of attribute development, it would be specificity. Because if you develop your attributes for MMA, if you develop your attributes for stick fighting, or if you develop your attributes for kinemutai to learn how to bite, so it's specific drills to get good at specific things.
Okay. Okay, last one. 4 ranges of combat. So some people want to know if you still think of it the same way, or have you changed your approach and description of the 4 ranges of combat?
Not unless we start growing limbs on other places of our body, okay? Because it's just anatomically speaking, your longest range is your legs, your middle, inside of that is your feet, inside of that is the clinch range, and inside of that is the ground. This is kind of like what they've been adopting in any UFC. They'll talk about, oh, kicking range, oh, boxing, oh, now we're into clinch, now we hit the ground. Sometimes they conflate kicking and boxing and call it kickboxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But then they'll always differentiate and call it clinch, which is just like saying trapping, and then they'll say ground. So these are just, so based on fighting, those are the only places you can fight.
Right. Now, so there are some people that wanted you to weigh in on this, that kicking, punching, clinch, or trapping and grappling are skills, and long, middle, and close quarter are the ranges. I think that's what they wanted you to weigh in on.
Well, for each range, say for kicking, is your kicking skills. Okay, I'm talking about ranges when I say kicking, punching, trapping, and grappling. Okay. Typically, when I teach that, I'll say go out in kicking range. So someone will throw kicks. We'll do destructions. Come into boxing. So for training, it's a way to differentiate it. When you're in a fight, you just don't think of all that. You want to get in close, where all your asymmetrical violence is, but you don't sit here and differentiate and sub-vocalize. Oh, I'm going into trapping now. I'm moving on into. It's just not done that way. It's more of a teaching tool.
Ah, okay. Got it.
But I am referring to ranges.
Right. Okay. What about, weighing now we're going to the controversies, right? So on the internet right now is this thing about trapping doesn't work.
Right now?
Yeah.
On the internet, trapping doesn't work was before there was an internet.
Right.
They used to say that on the magazines. Okay? Yeah. And before that, okay. Here's the deal on trapping. There are 4. We'll break it down into this. There's Wing Chun. Okay, that's the range that traps. There's Western wrestling, and there's Thai boxing. These are the 3, and if you say trap, it's the same thing as saying clinch. It's like saying car or automobile. It's exactly the same thing. Okay. So of all of the arts out there, some get in close to hit, but they don't fight in there. So the only arts that we can really say fight in clinch range is Wing Chun, wrestling, and Thai boxing. Got it. Okay. Yeah. These are the art. Okay. So now with Thai boxing, you will look on in any MMA fight. and you'll see a guy on the neck. This is a trap on the neck. And you'll see another guy maybe punching the body, or he'll be grabbing his neck and body. So seeing trapping range or clinch range in MMA is every single fight. They talk about it a lot.
Right.
Okay. So if it didn't work, then you're going to have to argue with the 240 MMA fights that have all gotten into clinch range at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, or trapping range.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I know what they're really saying. What they're okay, but I had to preface that with that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what they're really saying is Wing Chun trapping doesn't work.
Right.
They're saying Pak Saos, Lap Saos, this sort of thing doesn't work.
That's where I was going to go with it. Yeah. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a progression. The only way you're ever going to do a Wing Chun, well, if someone's in a stance like this, you can just reach up and trap its hands. You're seeing more and more of this in MMA now. They call the Lap Sao the pull down. Okay, they'll take the front hand and push it down and come in with this. We're watching more and more MMA people experiment with moving the hands out of the way, Wing Chun trapping, okay, before they punch. But that, we'll just put that off at the side, okay?
Yeah.
The progression that you're going to have to see to really watch Wing Chun trapping is this. First, two people will kickbox. Now, if two people kickbox, the ranges that they're going to be, the trapping ranges that they're going to see is going to be clinch and body. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when they get in close, they'll either be grabbing the neck or grabbing the body.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we have our beautiful litany of elbows, knees, headbutts, eye gouges, face bite, groin shots. Oh my God, it goes on forever. That's trapping range. That's our range.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're seeing grapplers, they like to go to the body. Thai guys, they like to go to the head. MMA guys will go back and forth. Okay? So if trapping doesn't work, watch that MMA fight and you'll see all of that. Now when we're talking about Wing Chun, first, somebody from kickboxing has to learn the straight blast. Okay? Because Wing Chun trapping involves center line.
Yeah.
Grappling trapping involves body. Thai boxing trapping involves neck. So unless your hands are in center line and his hands are in center line, it's very rare that you're going to see anything that resembles Wing Chun. So here's what used to happen at our Kali Academy. First, everybody kickboxed. Then I learned the straight blast from Dan Inosanto, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up able to use it real well in class against people that were beating me on a regular basis.
Right.
Okay. I didn't have to sit there and go toe to toe with them. I would just cover a little bit and mow them down, and they would go backwards. And I was like, oh my God, little chirps were coming down. Okay. It was just a beautiful feeling. Well, then you never saw any trapping going on because I was doing the blasting. After a few weeks, everybody started doing it in the JKD class. So now you'll have A and B sparring with each other. But what they're really looking for is a straight blast. So usually jab, cross, hook, thigh kick, trade back and forth. And let's say A gets the blast in. Well, then he wins that night. B is running backwards, getting hit, not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the following Tuesday, B fights A again, and they're kickboxing, boom, 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 and he gets the trap in. Well, then he won. It's kind of like who got the rear naked choke in to put the other guy asleep on the ground. That's the guy that wins.
Yeah.
Whoever caps this guy. Okay, so intrinsically, once you learn the straight blast, and you will see the amazing value of it. Ask Vitor Belfort against Vanderlei Silva. Please watch that fight. Okay, you'll see the beautiful straight blast. So intrinsically, you had a class back in the late 70s that knew whoever got the blast in was going to win.
Right. Huh.
But we do it out of kickboxing.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, just like two people will jab each other at the same time, just like two people will cross each other sometimes at the same time.
Yeah.
They think of a thigh kick at the same time. Well, do you ever think the two people who both are bent on getting that blast in are going to do it at the same time?
Right.
And the answer is, of course.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So before we learned to trap, if that happened, which happened 5 times a night, both people would come in with a blast. They'd get stuck in center line and they go, eh. And then they'd back out again.
Right.
And keep kickboxing.
Yeah.
Inosanto grabs me off to the side and he goes, no, stupid. Why do you think we're doing Pak Saos? You know how we start here with a reference point? And I go, yeah. Well, when you get there from the blast, do the same stupid move, stupid. And I'm like, oh, okay. So the next time that happened and we would get stuck, I would blast and he would blast and we'd get stuck here. Now I'm like, lop, lop. Oh, shit. And now I'm grabbing the neck and moving.
Yeah.
So the only way you will ever see Wing Chun trapping, Pak Saos and Lop Saos, not the only way, there's other ways, but mostly is if two people think of the blast at the same time, because they're both blasting, and they meet in the center line.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. You think that current JKD guys need to go back to Wing Chun in order to move forward in their JKD?
Nah, no. I think they need to watch every MMA match that they saw the one guy punching the other guy running backwards. I think in MMA they call it the blitz. Yeah.
Interesting.
Back when I made up the rat, which is a destruction,
Yeah.
a straight blast, tie clinch, headbutt, knee, and elbow.
Yeah.
And the Gracies were beating everybody. My teachers, they were beating everybody for the first few MMA fights, and then eventually Thai boxing got into play.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the art that really worked stand up over other arts because of the knees, elbows, clinch. So now we saw people doing the clinch, and a lot of people were going, "Oh my gosh, look at that! Vunak's Thai clinch, the part he calls termination in his rat. They're using it in MMA." I'm rolling my eyes going, of course. Okay. But they're like, yeah, but where's your straight blast? Okay. I said, give them time.
Right.
Give them time.
Yeah.
6 years later, the first straight blast was done by, Victor Belfort against Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah.
It was a better straight blast than I've ever seen a Wing Chun. He blasted him from one end, exactly straight punches. Everybody went, wow, the value of punching straight and running at somebody. Amazing. So now that became ubiquitous in MMA. They don't do it very well, so it's not as effective as it should be. They get their little hands rolling first, and then they charge. It's just not exactly the way to do it.
Right.
Okay. But you're seeing them do, and it's called the blitz. Okay. So now people are like, wow, in that rat we have the Thai boxing clinch, and the blast is coming.
Okay.
Yeah, but where's the destruction? And now recently we have Anderson Silva, okay, who got his leg destroyed and broken by a knee. I've seen that happen over 15 times in my career.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not new to me. And now they were actually talking about banning destructions, banning using your knee. So the entire rat of a destruction, a blast, and a Thai clinch is now finally come about after 240 matches. However, they don't do it in order, which is it's a synergistic thing.
Right.
They'll do one thing and hope it works, or but so give them another 5 or 10 years and they will. Okay, they'll do the whole. And when they do think of the blast together, then they're going to start learning traps. I get you have to. It's just it's logical. So we're waiting.
Right.
You know, we're waiting. In about 20 or 30 years, something very similar to the rat with trapping will occur.
Okay. All right. Now, we got to touch on this. You famously talked at one point about the 26 arts that Bruce Lee combined. What was that about?
You cut out. Are you there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, gotcha.
Okay. All right.
That was a historical article referring to Bruce when he was still alive and what he pulled out to help make the art of Jun Fan. It is extremely antiquated right now.
Okay.
What I do right now, we call contemporary Jeet Kune Do.
Right.
Okay. So many people are arguing, what is the best? What is this? What is that? Okay. Back in the 80s, Dan asked us to call Jeet Kune Do concepts.
Yeah.
It was an ideological suffix that most people didn't understand, and they confused it. Oh, it's not a real move, it's a concept. Yeah, if I headbutt you, you'll feel the concept. Okay. But so if you go way back to the very beginning of quote unquote original Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee was comparing his art to karate because that's what was around then. Okay, you didn't really have hard kickboxers. And then as Bruce Lee passed away in the early 70s, and PKA and WKA started getting really big, okay? Then Dan came along, and he did exactly what Bruce wanted him to do. He kept the art growing. So in those days, from the late 70s to about well, they still call it now. I call it contemporary Jeet Kune Do. But right after that, we kickboxed. So if an old original guy came in and watched our class where we're doing jabbing and crossing and kickboxing and Thai boxing, he's gonna go, we didn't do that with Bruce, okay? We sparred a little bit, but it was always like right here and a simple blast and a this and that.
Right.
Well, you have to equate with the current people. Okay,
Yeah.
if you get a Benny Urquidez fighting an original guy, so you have to be able to spar at their level. So Dan did what he was supposed to do, and he upgraded or added the ability to kickbox and do Thai boxing, and then he called that Jeet Kune Do concepts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Jun Fan is in there too somewhere. So it went from original Wing Chun, Jun Fan, okay, Jeet Kune Do concepts. So now we're in the 80s. And the art is being equated against kickboxing. This happened all the way to about 1993. And then when I finally talked Dan into letting Jorge and Gracie come to our school and put on a demonstration, and he and his brother just took everybody on the ground and tapped our whole school out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan looked with eyes this big and he said, we're going to add this to our art. And that's when Dan decided to add Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the art. So now at that time, if you were a fly on the wall, you would watch us do Thai boxing, punching, kicking, takedowns, pull the guard, pass the guard, mount. It would look just like an MMA match now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, when the Kali Academy closed down, Dan got more into Penjat Silat and became more of the ambassador. Mm-hmm. And less into the guy that's trying to show the world, yeah, we can fight. So he showed the world all these beautiful arts. So if you ask Dan a demonstration, he might go off into Penjat, he might go off into Pakiti Tersha, he might go off into...
All right, just hang on. He cut out again.
Oh,
okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
Okay, so
do you have an opinion? Do you have an opinion on why Inosanto did that? Why he did the ambassadorship thing?
Well, yeah, and I'll be doing the same thing if you come to me, you know, when I'm 70, 80 years old, and if I'm still sitting there gouging eyes and face biting, there's something wrong. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's time that we grow. He didn't need to prove himself as the, you know, we used to have people coming to the door like this all the time, ready to spar with us.
Right.
And Dan needed to prove that, yeah, we still have, Jeet Kune Do is viable, even though Bruce has passed away.
Yeah. Okay.
So now we have that. Well, when Dan went into that other world, I kept the MMA, but I knew that there would be a lot of MMA fighters out there a lot better. So I put the last 20 years on the ability to attack the eyes, attack the groin, and get 144, not bites, uninterrupted bites on the ground. So when you have that, that's what I call now contemporary Jeet Kune Do, because it's the Jeet Kune Do that equates to MMA.
Got it.
So we had the JKD that equated to karate,
right.
Then kickboxing. Now currently it is the Jeet Kune Do that equates to MMA. And without not just doing MMA. That's not what I mean, but doing it and having a viable counter for it in case you're in a life or death situation, right. And you're back in that law-abiding citizen thing. Only the guys you happen to fight are MMA people.
So that has to do with staying relevant.
Absolutely.
Right. Because I read something that this is from years ago. It said, you said, we as martial arts instructors must be able to cater to as wide an audience as possible, right?
And especially the audience, you know, that are the best fighters right now.
Okay.
I mean, so, if you look, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So what's your advice then for the different types of JKD instructors? So we got the the guys who teach at a health club or in a rec center, what's your advice for them?
My advice for any Jeet Kune Do man would be to study MMA, would be to get your kickboxing and your Brazilian jiu-jitsu down. And then once you do that, become a master at attacking the eyes and the balls. In the beginning, back before the first MMA fight, when I was always talking about doing Thai boxing and out of Thai boxing, attack the eyes and attack the groin, many people would say, yeah, but when the adrenaline's pumped, you might get poked in the eye. Just shut that eye. Fight with the other one. And they had all kind of real interesting notions.
Yeah.
And now when you watch the top fighters on planet Earth, okay, you will not be able to find an MMA match where somebody doesn't walk in a corner holding his testicles or walk in the other corner holding his eye. Nobody says, oh, stop, stop, I took a mean elbow. Oh, stop, stop, I took a mean punch. And it's always, if anything stops fighters nowadays, it is the eyes and the groin. And please don't think that I'm running around saying, all you got to do is attack the eyes and groin and you're going to run around beating MMA people. That's not it.
Okay.
I'm giving a viable, I'm saying if you're an MMA man and you're a professional fighter and you're a light heavyweight, okay, and then we clone you and you had to fight you, okay,
Right.
The you that would do Kina Muay and bite and eye gouge well would destroy the other you.
Okay. But that
I'm not trying to say a little guy is going to destroy an MMA guy just because he's biting and eye gouging. Because the MMA, all the biting you do has to come from MMA postures.
Okay.
And when you see on the internet, everybody says MMA, they say biting is overrated. Okay? I have been telling people the first 10 years that I promulgated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, from 1983 to 1993, I never did any biting. Everybody said to me, oh, I'll just bite you on the ground. I showed everybody, no, I was just a purple belt. But my friends, I'm talking about everybody, and my students, and, oh, but Sifu, what if we grab your eyes? What if we do this? But a good fighter, a good jiu-jitsu man is going to mount and find their positions before this guy's ever going to bite you.
Right.
And then in the myriad of fights that I've been in where I tried to bite people, hell, they just get more pissed off at me. So far, I used to tell never, ever, ever bite. All that's going to do is piss somebody off.
Okay. All right.
And please let me just get to the end. And I promise that my verbosity
that's
will
fine.
end.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Then one day, Hickson calls me up and he goes, I'm going to the airport. I have to fight in Japan. Come pick me up. Hurry up. I'm late. Who are you fighting? Oh, some guy named Takata. So I fly to the airport to pick him up. I'm driving to the airport and I say, Hickson, when you're on the ground, are you going to do your punching? Or are you going to do straight jiu-jitsu to show the world? And he said, well, I'm going to punch if I can punch uninterrupted. And I didn't know what that meant. So he went to Japan. He beat the guy real quick, came back home. And then I said, what did you mean by punch interrupted? And then he showed me all the postures on the ground where you can hit somebody forever. Okay, like cross-side, if you go up to hit him, he's just going to pull guard. Okay, but if you're mounted on him, you can hit him forever. If you pull him and he's in a triangle choke, his head, you can hit him forever. So you have to get it to where you can hit the guy forever. And this is uninterrupted punching as opposed to just arbitrary punching.
Mm-hmm.
And me, the guy who hated biting, who agrees with everybody, biting is overrated unless you know how to do it right. So then I'm driving home and oh my God, the revelation of my life hit me. And after 10 years of telling people how biting sucks, I said, what if I bit uninterrupted on the positions that are already in jiu-jitsu? And the first year I found 3, the second 5 years I found 10. Now we have 144 places. For example, if I'm doing a wrap around your face and I'm biting your nose, it's gone. If I'm like this and I go and I bite your nose, you're going to pull it away and be pissed at me. If you get me in a headlock and I turn around and I bite your tit, you're going to pull away and punch the heck out of me. But if you get me in a headlock and then I get you in a bear hug, your breast is gone.
Right.
So you first have to secure the uninterrupted part, and now you can remove something. You're not just biting it. So I agree, biting is overrated. Uninterrupted biting is underrated.
Okay. All right.
I promise I'll shut up.
No, that's okay. So I just got the first warning that I'm losing power. So
Yep.
let's do this. I need you to make the audience aware of the November seminar. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yes. I am going to put together every possible thing that I know about Bruce Lee. We're going to cover from the beginning to the end. We have hours and hours and hours of sparring matches with Bruce. We're putting together an entire Bruce Lee immersion weekend that's going to be covered everything that I talked about and more. It's going to be at Carlsbad, California. It'll be on the beach. It'll be in the hotel. I'm supplying the food. It's from 10 in the morning until 10 at night for 2 nights in a row. If you're interested in it, all you got to do is go to my website, vunak.com, and hit the infomercial, and you'll be there.
Okay. And the Vunak Bible.
Boy, God's going to strike me in the ass when you say it like that. Call it the martial art Bible at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I finished a book called The Martial Art Bible and a new video called Enigma Package. And so when you go up on the website, if you want to look at those, you can look at those too.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. I wanted to get that in before we lost power.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Now, after all this time, is there anything you think people still don't get about you?
The last thing I'd like to say is
oh, it's not the last thing. I'm going to ask you about 4 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about, geez, I wanted to come out and see you. I don't want to get bitten. They think we're going to be like this. You might be confusing us in the 80s. The thing I'm most proud about in my company is since I've formulated the second version of PFS over the last 15 years, we have a company called Adapt for Life. And all of the techniques that I teach, we teach to disabled children. So 95% of the people in my company all work with a disabled child for free. We want to pass on the love. We're a family. We work more with children. I go around to rehab centers and I explain to people.
Yeah.
I have self-deprecating funny stories. So we're more into that. And it's just a lovely organization of people that are baby boomers.
Okay.
And it's not the killers you would think.
Okay.
I guess that's the most important thing I'd like you to hear.
All right. What do people not get about Dan Inosanto?
His level. His
okay.
level. And his level to this day.
Okay.
Okay.
What do they not get about, we got like 5 minutes. What did they not get about Bruce Lee and or Jeet Kune Do? After all this time, what do people not get?
Let me just back up for 2 seconds.
Okay.
On the Dan Inosanto thing, okay, yeah. The only way you will be able to understand his level is to spar with him. Okay. And to this day at 80, you would be blown away. Okay. So if you go to him and you see him doing a bunch of techniques, you're never going to understand his level. It would be like Michael Jordan, and instead of playing a basketball game, you listen to him talk a little bit and shoot a few free throws. You're never going to get his level.
Got it.
I'm sorry. What was the next one?
Okay. So after all this time, is there anything you think people still don't get about Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do?
Oh God, yeah. And that's what I want to show this weekend. That's one of the main reasons.
Okay.
I want people to be able to understand the functional end of Jeet Kune Do. So many people think it's about movies and theory and jumping spin kicks and all that. So trapping range is the essence of Jeet Kune Do, and it's the belly of the beast. It's the diamond in the art. And so many people don't understand that because they're still into the, trapping doesn't work. I've never seen a Pak Sao against a kickboxer.
Okay.
You've never seen a triangle choke against a kickboxer either, you know?
Right. Okay. All right. So before we lose power, let's hang up for now. But remember, you promised the entire world that you would do this again.
I would be honored to do it again with you. This was fun.
Well, it was. I'm glad that we were finally able to do it, and it was my honor to be the one to get you on here. I really appreciate your spending some time with us.
Well, I'm with you exclusively. I don't do any of this stuff, so it's me and you, baby. You're stuck with me now.
All right. Okay. All right, Paul. Thank you so much, man. I'll be in touch again. All right. Okay.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay. So expect a return visit from Mr. Vunak sometime soon. Okay, so I hope you guys had a good time with that. Remember, just go to vunak.com. He's like the best at branding. Just go to vunak.com and all the stuff that we talked about will be there. So that's it for today. Feel free, share, like, comment. You know the deal. Follow me on Instagram at Dwight Woods, Dwight D Woods, Twitter at Dwight Woods. Next week, let me tell you about next week. Next Friday, I have 2 episodes of the dialogues. Harinder Singh comes on at 3 p.m. Harinder Singh from Jeet Kune Do Athletic Association. And then at 6 p.m., Dino Orfanos from New York Martial Arts Academy, right? I'm afraid I'm going to run out of power, so I'm rushing everything. All right, so that's next Friday. 1 at 3 p.m., 1 at 6 p.m. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Take care.